Good evening, everybody. It's Steve with Real Progressives. I had an opportunity last night to interview Dr. Bill Mitchell. And tomorrow night, we'll have a special broadcast of my friend and economist from Benzager Institute, Fidel Kaboub. Tonight, we're going to talk about where this cliff that we're about to hit is coming from and why we're not always so delicate with pointing out that the fucking cliff is right there in front of you and that we're all going to go off of it if we don't collectively figure out that we don't want to go over that cliff. I'm going to start with Robert Reich. Robert Reich is a friend of many of yours in your mind anyway. You've developed a friendship. You've developed some sort of a celebrity love crush on Robert Reich. Robert Reich defended Bernie during the primaries. Then he flipped around and supported Hillary during the national. Fine, a lot of people did that. But I want to tell you why we point out Robert Reich and people like Robert Reich. Why we show their inadequacy, why we show the things that they're misleading you and I on. There's a reason why we have to focus and we have to attack people that you would like us not to attack. There is a bona fide reason why. The term progressive has been around for a very, very long time. People have been wanting progressive, ideals and programs and, the things that we like to talk about, the things that we want. These things are not new. They've been around for a very long time. We just had the wave bring us to the forefront for once. It's been a long time since real progressivism had a moment in the sun. And guys like Robert Reich keep that old tax and spend liberal, that old tax and spend liberal that never got us anywhere. They bring that tax and spend liberal back out of the closet, dust it off, and try and make us all believe that somehow or another that's always been progressivism. And Robert Reich did something that I think is almost unforgivable. What Robert Reich did was he used Kansas and the way that Republicans in the state of Kansas have left the state in very, very bad shape by cutting taxes for the wealthy, etc. Now, in a state like Kansas that is not able to make its own currency, a state like Kansas is going to have horrific outcomes from slashing taxes on the wealthy. And you're seeing it. Brownback has destroyed the state of Kansas. Now, sure, there are areas there that you go to that are beautiful, but much of Kansas is absolutely suffering from the tax cuts that Brownback and the Republicans shoved down the people's throats. But what Robert Reich did was he tried to compare Kansas, the state of Kansas, and the taxation of Kansas with the national government and the national programs and national federal taxes. Now, our movement, we could have stayed silent on this, and we could have let you just go ahead and march down the walkway and right off the cliff so we didn't offend your buddy Robert Reich. Because after all, we got more bullshit feedback from wimpy people that couldn't handle a critique of Robert Reich. They could not handle a critique of Robert Reich. Don't poop on our allies. Don't say mean things about Robbie Reich. He's such a a good and decent man. We love Robert Reich. So it deeply offended them when I pointed out that the lie he was using was not an innocent fraud. It was an intentionally perpetuated fraud that is used for partisan bullshit. It's used for partisan bullshit. And if you look at people like Paul Krugman, Krugman is another charlatan, another liar that proclaims himself to be a progressive, but is nothing but the establishment hack neoliberal. Paul Krugman lies like a rug. And Robert Reich, as nice of a guy as he is leading you off a cliff as well. Robert Reich, first and foremost, is not an economist. He just plays one on the internet. Robert Reich was the labor, secretary. He was not the economic secretary, so to speak. Robert Reich is a guy who peddles neoliberal tax and spend, old bullshit lies of economics. Now, he nails it that we should never look to trickle-down economics. He nails it. That's the easy part. Anybody with a half a brain can figure out that trickle-down doesn't work. But what he did, which is a travesty, because how many people do you know don't have a brain of their own, don't have a mind of their own, don't think through the problems? And so when Robert Reich says something, or when Bernie Sanders says something, they're inept and unwilling to learn the actual truth of the economics. They just say, well, Bernie said it, so therefore it must be. Well, Bernie Sanders, God love you, you picked a great leadership team in terms of Stephanie Kelton, but guess what? You're not an economist either, Bernie. And neither is Robert Reich. But the one economist that is on the staff, Stephanie Kelton, will tell you point blank that it is not good to cut taxes on the wealthy. However, even if you do, you're not paying for anything. You're not paying for things. You see what I'm saying? These taxes are used to make you need the currency. But in the state of Kansas, they're used to actually buy textbooks for students. They're actually used to keep the water system working. They're actually used to make sure that the friggin' library is going, that the fire department is operational. The taxes in the state of Kansas are actually used to ensure that kids without money are able to have a free lunch. These are things that are legitimate truths. The state of Kansas needs tax revenue to pay for things, to fund itself. But by conflating the United States federal government with the state government of Kansas, he committed a very, very treacherous act, which allows you to once again do what you do. Not you, but you, whoever you is that does this shit. Allows you to say, well, Robert Reich said, well, Robert Reich told me. But didn't you read what Bobby Reich said? Robbie Reich said this. Well, I think that someone like Robert Reich has been around a lot longer and knows more about this. The appeal to authority, the hero worship. I've never met Robert Reich, but damn it, he's a friend of mine kind of mindset. We don't have time to wait for you to listen to the people like Robert Reich who screw it up and then sideline the entire movement thinking they've got to chase after bullshit and then try and bring you back onto the rails to get you going in the right direction yet again. We don't have time. And I'm telling you right now, it is a major it's a major problem. Because Warren Mosler said it perfectly. It was the most perfect statement I've ever heard the man make, and he's made a million of them. But he said the headline left is not doing any favors. Zero favors for progressives. Because they continue to tell these lies. They continue to tell these lies. And then many, many people say, well, Bernie didn't say that. So if Bernie didn't say it, then how could it be possibly true? Because Bernie. I like Bernie. It's got nothing I don't care whether he's a sheepdog or this dog or that dog. The point is that when people sit there and they fall into hero worship and they're incapable of saying anything that Bernie or Bobby Reich didn't say. Well, if they didn't say it, then it can't be true. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you understand what I'm saying, you'll understand why it is absolutely critical that I continue to pound on people like Robert Reich, whether you like it or not. I don't care if we lose followers because people are too fucking sensitive to handle hearing the truth. I don't care if people are too sensitive to hear the fucking truth. And I'm sorry, guys. I got a life, I got a job, I got kids, I got other things going on, I lose sleep. I'm not going to sit there and give it to you walking on eggshells. I'm going to give it to you with the full elbow right off the top rope. You want somebody that tells the truth, that's got to be even when you like the person I'm telling the truth about. You want to have a truth teller that should tell you that I'm not going to sit there and nibble the earlobe of Robert Reich. Just not going to do it. I'm not going to tickle his ear with my tongue. It's not going to happen. It is incredibly important. Because here we go. Let's talk about some of the things that Robert Reich's faulty bullshit does to us as a nation. First thing, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, we can't pay enough in taxes to save Puerto Rico. No, that money's got to come from somewhere else, doesn't it? It's certainly not coming from your hard-earned tax dollars. That money is being keystroked into existence wherever it comes from. So their life-saving things that they need in Puerto Rico, those things that they need, they desperately need. Someone like Robert Reich in his game of taxes and spending puts their lives in jeopardy because now we got to carry the water of that lie to the battlefield. Instead of just saying, hey, why aren't we taking care of these people that are really, really fucking desperate for help? We got to go into this whole bullshit game now about how we're going to pay for it with taxes. Which is bullshit. Look at the Green Party and look at some of your favorite friends who are sitting there saying that Medicare for all, enhanced Medicare for all, suddenly has to be paid for your fair share of taxes. As Donald Trump signs away the very few good things of the ACA, the very few good things that the ACA did provide, Donald Trump, with a pen stroke from an executive order, wiped it away. But guess what? It's because the Republicans and many Democrats actually believe that your hard-earned tax dollars are paying for Obamacare. or would be paying for Medicare for all. So what's going to happen? You'll see people, many people in our movement will post this meme. And it will go around and it will say something like, click like or love if you don't want to see your hard-earned tax dollars paying for more bombs. Or click like or love if you don't want to see your tax dollars go to Israel. Or click like or love if you don't want to see your tax dollars go to subsidizing weapons sales. Something like that. Real good pull on the heartstrings, right? You don't want to see your hard-earned tax dollars go to something that you don't want to see them go to. So this creates another front, another battlefield that doesn't exist. It's a fake one. Just like the Green Party and their pursuit of the fractional reserve system that doesn't exist. That thing? Yeah, another lie, right? So we've got to just destroy myths and legends. We're like going through with a machete, hacking away these stupid things. Hacking away and hacking away and hacking away. The reality is, we have the money to do it all. Because we don't have money, we don't not have money. We create the money every time our government spends. Every single time it spends with keystrokes. It didn't recycle your hard-earned tax dollars. That's not how this shit works. Period. It doesn't matter whether you like that or not. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. That's the thing. Facts. Every day, every single day, we look at this grand new deal that Bernie Sanders laid out for us. And every day, people like Robert Reich talk about raising taxes to pay for things. Now, if you want to say don't cut taxes on the rich because they're too damn rich, I'll give you a thumbs up for that. I agree with that. But if you're going to sit there and say we can't cut taxes on the rich because that's going to put a big burden on the poor, well, that's a lie. And it matters even though you don't see it in that moment. That lie carries over to when you say, I want to get rid of student loans. I want to get rid of student debt forever. When you say that, and then at the same time you got to reconcile the lies that Robert Reich just told you, now all of a sudden, how are you going to pay for getting rid of student debt? Well, we're going to tax the 1%, and we're going to put a Wall Street speculation tax on it. And what else? We already said we're going to put a Wall Street speculation tax for the other thing we said we were going to pay for, right? Oh, shit. Damn it. Well, this is what happens. This is what happens, my friends. And nothing gets done. Not a damn thing. You don't want to see any more wars for oil. You don't want to see wars for oil. I don't blame you. I don't want to see it either. Why do you suppose we're having wars for oil right now? Is it because there's no energy sources out there like the sun or the wind or water or anything else that we could use to power our existence? Hardly. Hardly. It's cost. It costs too much. Too much money. We got too much money, man. How are we going to afford this? We're going to have to tax somebody to pay for something else. The same wash, rinse, repeat. And it doesn't work that way. It's a lie. And it sets up a 3, 4, and 5 front war. Now all of a sudden you got to figure out where you're going to get the tax dollar from. That industry, wherever you're going to tax, is going to bitch and moan and complain because, damn it, that's our hard-earned tax dollars. We could subsidize green energy like that. We could make any company out there that is going to lose jobs and lose viability, we could make them whole for a period of years if they would simply shift to green energy like that. We could do it. We wouldn't need to raise taxes to do that. But yet we've created this box that we live in. We've created this box and we can't break free of it. No matter how much we try, we cannot break free. So until we break free of the lie that federal taxes pay for stuff, until we break free of that lie, no matter even when it helps Republicans a little bit, it might appear that it helps Republicans. It doesn't, because in the end, it helps the 99% to get rid of this lie. So, Robert Reich lies like a rug. Paul Krugman lies like a rug. Every single senator, every single congressman seems to lie like a rug. Our own alternative media, rather than cover this truth, they're so woke, they don't even require an alarm clock. They're just walking around in a perpetual state of wokeness. Okay? This woke thing. But yet they won't touch this because they don't understand it. But yet here is the ultimate lie. This is the lie. This is the lie that causes all other lies to stay the way they are. We get nowhere without destroying this lie. We could afford public elections, pay for public elections like that without raising a nickel for taxes. How many people have seen the meme go around that says, who would be willing to raise their own taxes to pay for Medicare for all? Who would be willing to pay more in taxes to have Medicare for all? That's not the establishment doing that. That's not Donald Trump doing that. That's you and I fucking sending this stupid shit around, perpetuating the lie. That's you and I sending a meme around to just fuck our movement left, right, and center. How many would like to pay more taxes for Medicare for all? The next big one. Where's the 12 million they stole from this? Where's the millions they stole from Social Security? Guys, there is no piggy bank sitting there in the closet with crumpled up old dollar bills from 1919 when grandma was still freaking looking, Randy, hey, let's go shag, baby. That's not how it works. Governments sell bonds. Governments sell things like Social Security, these pay-for-it kind of programs to take money out of the economy to slow it down. They take money out of the economy to defend interest rates. They take money out of the economy to keep us desperate, ironically. Who would have thought that private savings is a demand leakage? In other words, it's taking money out of circulation, which is therefore depressing the economy. The individual feels good. They've got a few bucks stashed away, but the overall economy is hurt. The overall economy is hurt because we all have a need to save for a rainy day, right? We all want to save some money for a rainy day. So when we save that money, we literally take that money out of circulation, and it's got to be replaced in some way, shape, or form for the economy to keep moving. Just like a deficit. Let's talk about a deficit for a minute. If the government taxed back every single dollar that it took in and had a balanced budget, you would have no money in your wallet. Do you understand that? The amount of money in circulation is the amount of untaxed dollars in circulation. Because once that dollar has been taxed, it's purged from the system. It's deleted. It's done its thing. It's lived its life. It was born a dollar. It died a tax. That's how it works. That's how it works. So when Robert Reich runs around telling you these things, it's like, Robert Reich, how easy would it be just to tell people it's keystrokes instead of running around telling everybody how badly we're fucked because they're cutting taxes and you can't pay for stuff now? Instead of saying the rich are too damn rich, let's tax the fuck out of them. Which is your right, whatever. If you want to get into vengeance politics, knock yourself out. I, however, want to see you and I have fucking health care for all, not Medicare for all. I'm talking about, I want to walk into a doctor and I don't even want to break out a freaking credit card. I don't even want to talk about a copay someday. I don't even want to talk about paying my fair share. I want to walk into a doctor and I want to have my damn shit taken care of. When I go to a dentist, I don't want to be wondering whether or not I need to get the silver filling or the white ceramic filling because I can't afford it. Just give me the fucking right thing for my teeth, damn it. Fix my teeth. I don't have any money. Fix my teeth. It's a right. Think about this. When Robert Reich goes out there and tells you that taxes are paying for things, he is keeping you further and further away from this New Deal you dream of, that I dream of, that our children require. Now let's talk about something you're going to hate even more than what I've already told you. Let's talk about the military for a minute. And let's talk about bombs and planes and tanks and guns and bullets. The United States government spends money into existence, as it does for everything, on bombs, on soldiers, on tanks, on planes, on steering wheels, on friggin' whatever, drones, Hellfire missiles, mother of all bombs, nuclear weapons, it doesn't matter. The U.S. government spends that into existence. Your taxes never paid 1 cent of it. However, pretend like you don't know that that spending went to the military and just pretend that the economy is a swimming pool. We're not even going to talk a bathtub this time. We're going to talk about a swimming pool. Now, the only way into the swimming pool is to do a swan dive off the diving board. However, the pool only has a foot of water in it. So you do your swan dive into the water and you die. You do a swan dive into the asphalt, just like Head PE says. No, you need water in the pool to survive. So what do? We have to fill the pool up somehow or another with money. Money. So what do? They know that you and I can't quibble over defending our nation. So they spend money into the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex is made up of many, many entities, from defense contractors to plumbers to electricians to engineering companies. You name it. Most of your neighbors are in some way, shape, or form working for the military-industrial complex, even if they don't realize it. Even if they don't realize it. So right now, our economy is already living an MMT existence. Right now, our economy is already demonstrating the power of a fiat currency, but for the wrong ways. So when you look at your tub or your pool, and you think of all the military spending in it, that military spending brought the water up to the point where you can dive into the pool and not break your neck on the bottom. So you don't want to cut military spending because you don't realize what fills that tub up, that pool up. It's just money in there. It doesn't know that it was for the military. It doesn't know that it was for a school. It doesn't know that it was for food stamps. It doesn't know that it was for a mortgage bailout. It doesn't know anything. It just knows that money is floating in the economy. So when I hear people say, well, we got to cut the military and we'll move that money over here, maybe that's good enough, maybe it's not. Remember, I told you, whenever we have leakages, we have to fill those leakages up. That's the trade imbalance, that's savings, that's whatever. That money leaves the economy, that pool starts shrinking. Now all of a sudden you're doing a swan dive into a pool that doesn't have enough water to absorb your dive. You got to fill the pool up so that you can safely dive back in. So we need to make sure that we don't cut anything. We shift the spending, but never cut. You cut spending, you take the water out of the pool. You take the water out of the pool, then you and I suffer mightily. That's when the recession hits. This is like one of the simplest concepts ever. This isn't about hyperinflation. Let's talk about that for a minute. My God. How many people in our movement say stupid things like, what are you going to do, print more money? What do you want to do, just create Weimar and have hyperinflation? What about Venezuela? What about Zimbabwe? Why do we have people in our movement saying things like that and saying it in such a way that they think they're the cool one in the room? Why do they get to feel like they're the cool one in the room saying something so flaccid, so absolutely devoid of merit? Why do they think they're the cool kid? Hey, baby, let me tell you about my Weimar. This is the stuff that kills our movement too. And I can't blame this one on Bobby Reich, because I don't think I've ever heard the guy say anything as worthless and stupid as something about hyperinflation. But let's talk about hyperinflation for a few minutes. Hyperinflation is a rejection of the currency. It is a flat-out rejection. You won't take a U.S. dollar anymore. You won't take a single U.S. dollar now. It's going to take a friggin' wheelbarrow of U.S. dollars to buy a loaf of bread. That's hyperinflation. Okay? Let's talk about why a country enters into a hyperinflation. Zimbabwe. Mugabe took all the farms and gave them from the white farmers that were trained in it, and gave it to the freedom fighters who were not farmers, they were fighters. Their productive capacity dropped 60%. Everybody was competing for 40% of the freaking food supply that had been just eradicated. They had no productive capacity. It had been decimated. So now everybody was bringing everything, including the kitchen sink, to get an ear of corn. That's a hyperinflation. And that's brought on by political instability, and it's brought on by a complete and utter lack of the ability to produce real resources. Now, let's talk about the Weimar Republic that everyone loves to bring up. What do you want to be, just like Weimar? Make sure your knuckleheaded friend that says hyperinflation shit hears this. Germany had just gotten out of a very disastrous war. They signed the Treaty of Versailles, which was an extremely punitive treaty. It wiped out the productive capacity of Germany. It wiped out their access to natural resources. And it eliminated their production to next to nothing. They could have printed money till the cows came home, and it wouldn't have made a single loaf of bread crop up. They had lost their productive capacity once again. They had tremendous political instability. And here's a new one. Their debt was not denominated in the Reichsmark. It was denominated in French francs. In other words, they had to have something that the French were willing to take, which was French francs. And Germany was not a creator of French francs. They were like Greece. They were like Puerto Rico. They were like anybody other than the United States. So when you hear people talk about Germany, they either have never heard this story or they just are stupid. There's not a whole lot of room in between. The reality is it had next to nothing to do with printing money. The only reason why printing money came to bear was the fact that they kept doing it and there was nothing there for people to buy. There was nothing there for them to buy with their money. There was no production. There was no crops. Now let's go to Venezuela, why don't we? Venezuela, a country that freaking has one meaningful export in the gas and petroleum. One meaningful export. Their entire everything is contingent on that one thing. If there are shocks to that market, if there are new entrants to that market, if there's another group that's flooding their product onto the market, their entire economy is jolted by that one export. That's it. So they are very, very susceptible to huge swings in the market. Very, very susceptible to external constraints. Think about what I'm saying to you. The United States government is nowhere near tapping our resources. Our resources, being you and I, are completely underutilized. Many of us are underemployed. Many of us can't find work. Many of us can't find work in a field that we went to school for. Many of us are living in broken homes where we're paying for 2 households, child support, spousal support, 2 homes, college education, medical services, you name it. And then expected to stay solvent while carrying that load. It is unfair and it is impossible and it is self-induced. We have chosen it by allowing people like Robert Reich and, quite frankly, our alternative media that refuses to address this very revolutionary truth. Now let's talk about another big problem. The cliff keeps coming closer. The Venus Project and the resource-based economy. Guys, this Jacques Fresca was a great mind. He had a great idea. It's wonderful stuff to consider for a future time. Modern monetary theory doesn't have to be implemented. It is right here, right now. So when someone says they're not going to talk MMT, they're worried about a Venus Project, and they throw up some stupid, ridiculous link about the Venus Project. They're doing a Bobby Reich in a different way. They don't understand that MMT is right here, right now. Life-saving abilities are right now, today. So they decide they're going to throw up some link like, I don't know what the Venus Project is. Like, I haven't researched it out the ass. Like, somehow or another, they brought this fucking nugget of truth to me, and all of a sudden, my mind is going to be blown. Oh my God, the Venus Project? What is that? Do tell. I've never heard of it before. I mean, this is the stuff, man. It's like, guys, I'm telling you this stuff not because I have some MMT fetish. I'm telling you it because I have children. Because I want to see our planet inhabitable. And we don't have 50 to 100 years to implement some new system. Well, we got to burn it down. We got to take back the means of production. We got We got to done slay us some this. We got to raise taxes on the wealthy. Oh shit, did you say Medicare for all? Well, how are we going to do that? We got all these other important things like friggin' ending the Federal Reserve. We got to do all these things before we could save life one. When you start seeing the zero-sum game that comes out of this bullshit, when you start realizing that every minute some asshole slow plays this by talking about hyperinflation, or you see somebody not realize we couldn't get 1% in the polls for Jill regardless. Let's just say it was totally rigged and everything else, and we got a big old 5%. Let's hypothetically say we got 5%. Forget the rigging. 5% ain't enough to overthrow the system, to take back the means of production. It's not enough. It's not enough. So you gotta go with what brought you to the dance, man. And what brought you to the dance is a monetary economy. Whether you like it or not, it's just not, well, I like pink, Chauncey. Well, Billy, I like blue. I won't do a thing until it's blue. But you're so not progressive if you don't like pink. We live in a monetary economy, deal with it. We live in a monetary economy, deal with it. You want to get gasoline for your car? Oh God, guess what? You need money to get gas. You want to buy a new shirt because you need a shirt because you're cold? It takes money. Yes, you can barter with your neighbor for that bad Christmas sweater, I'm sure. But the reality is that most everything that we want requires money. Why do they take US dollars instead of friggin' gold nuggets or Chinese, dollars or whatever? The yuan? Why don't they take the Japanese yen? Why don't they take euros? Because the United States government taxes in US dollars. It taxes in US dollars, and therefore you need US dollars to pay your tax. And as long as the government has the ability to impose a tax, it will retain its value. That's the way this works. So the next thing, China's going to dump the dollar. Russia's going to dump the dollar. Somebody's going to dump the dollar. Oh no, the end of the world. We're all going to die. Folks, in order for them to do business in the United States, in other words, 350 million fucking people that they can sell gasoline to, that they can sell their cars to, that they can sell whatever they want to. Every one of these countries has to have US dollars. Do they need to have all that debt? No, but what do they do with that debt? Say they want to sell it. They got to get, somebody is going to take that money. Do you understand that the dollars that buy treasuries are already in existence? You can't buy a treasury bill in Chinese yuan or Japanese yen or Russian rubles. You can't buy treasury bonds in it. You have to buy it in US dollars because the point of a treasury bond is to take money out of the economy, like I said before. Just like a war bond was not to fund the war, a war bond was to take money out of the economy because we were operating at 100% efficiency. The war machine was cranking, so they had to take money out of the economy to prevent inflation going through the roof. Folks, we have got to stop protecting our alternative media friends, our politicians, our favorite celebrity economists like Bobby Reich. And we've got to start dealing in reality, in fucking macroeconomic reality. And we need to start freaking making it happen because we need a we need a mass movement to make the changes that we want. And here's the thing. This is the way I'm going to end this talk here. You know, obviously we'd all like to know that this election stuff is sacred, that every time we cast our ballot, that it's counted, and every time we cast it, it's accurate, and, you know, we have a say-so in our elections. Isn't that what we'd all like? I know that's what I'd like, right? Well, what happens if that doesn't happen? What happens, hypothetically, if the very people that are in office today that have to write new laws in order to have things the way we'd like them to be, what happens when they don't do what we say? Do we just check out? Do we just say, oh, well, elections are bad, not getting counted anyway, better go off into the woods and pick some berries? No, we don't do that. Noam Chomsky said it. Chris Hedges has said it. Point blank, we may be drifting through the wilderness of the situation, but we put maximum pressure on these politicians because even if they're bought and paid for hacks, they want to keep the rebellion to a minimum. They don't want us out there friggin' shooting people up. Not that we would ever do that, but you know what I'm saying. They don't want people out of their minds. They want people in a situation that they can control. Controlled opposition. It's a real thing. So it's up to us to push the narrative away that tells us we can't do anything without fair elections. Anybody that tells you that is incidentally sidelining you from being effective. Because the same people that you would have to require to have fair elections are the same people you would have to have put in laws to pass a new deal. The only way either one of them are happening is if we have a mass movement that forces their hand. Otherwise, none of it happens. So you want to know why all this stuff matters? It matters because we need to teach each other. Each one teach one. Because we need to be out there, arms locked like we're at a pipeline, saying you're not going to lie to us about economics anymore. You're not going to lie to us and say that we're broke and that we can't afford nice things. You're not going to lie to us and tell us that you can't afford to take care of the poor. You're not going to lie and tell us you can't afford to give us health care. You're not going to lie and tell us you can't afford to give us college. And you're definitely not going to lie to us and say that you can't give us a federal job guarantee and say, fuck you, because we have a right to survive and thrive. We as people have a right to the pursuit of happiness. And right now, my friends, all we're doing is running through a maze, the same maze over and over again on that hamster wheel, chasing that nugget, just chasing that little bit of cheese. And we never get off the wheel because they've got it designed to be exactly that. It's up to you and I to awaken our friends, to awaken the media. And when you hear our alternative media of all people, I am particularly angry at our alternative media because I have reached out to them countless times. They all know I exist. I've got pictures with all of them. They know. But they won't do this because their ego won't allow them not to be the one that knows the story. Their ego will not allow them to talk about a subject that they are not expert in. So they ignore this truth. And therefore, people like Robert Reich get to walk around and parade around as if there's some sort of moral deity, some god of the movement. And they are not. Folks, each one teach one. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. Have a good night, everybody. Tomorrow night, special presentation. Friend of the program, Gonzaga Institute's own Fidel Kaboob will be in Akron, Ohio. A special Real Progressives production. We're going to be putting out his presentation out there, and we're going to be taking your questions live. So be here, tune in, tell a friend. We look forward to seeing you. Have a good night, everybody. I'm out.